Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. 49 coming at you now, the community shoutcast for the OUSA Dota League Season 1. Just loading into Game 2 of Felffie and Friends up against See and Believe. Felffie and Friends were able to take a convincing Game 1 victory, utilizing the Death Pool push coming out from their Lycanthrope. It was something like a 27-minute game. They're able to take racks at about 22 minutes in. Felffie and Friends' tri-lane with the Silencer as well as the Ancient Apparition and Mirana didn't really work out at all. Silencer was completely ineffective for the entirety of that game, chose not to go for a point and glaive, chose to max out Curse of the Silence second after Last Word. Very surprising considering the fact that all the heroes over on the Dire side had ways to instantly break that Curse of the Silence. Loading in now for game number 2, See and Believe have first pick. And so Felffie and Friends have the Dire side once again. Will be interesting to see if that Lycanthrope is respect banned. Just because the Dire side advantage with Roshan being that much closer makes Lycanthrope a very attractive pickup. As Lycanthrope really relies on securing Roshan as soon as possible to give him that early Death Ball momentum to push down towers with impunity. Just going to quickly log into Steam so I don't get any
10 seconds remaining.
Players. Right now, Horsemen of the Ruckus are playing up against Psycho, so
5 seconds remaining.
That's been casted elsewhere. I'm just going to be casting Felffie and Friends by See and Believe, and after that series at 9:30 I'll be casting Blink up against Team Standard Strat alongside with the president of the OUSA Gaming Club, Henry Faulkner. So first band coming out from See and Believe is that Visage. Road to 2.5k MMR, played an okay Visage. His Familiar Micro is actually pretty terrible. He did let his Familiars die a lot of the time. But just through the sheer power of Grave Chill and Soul Assumption, they were able to secure their tri-lane and take a lot of kills. Familiar Micro is a huge part of Visage, but at the same time, the hero is so strong that even if you choose to, even if your Micro is pretty bad with the Familiars, if you're good enough on positioning the hero, you can still output a huge amount of damage. As you saw, Soul Assumption was able to secure the majority of the kills for the early stages of the game. It gave Visage a 21-minute Aghanim Scepter, so he's flying around with 3 birds, even if you don't micro them perfectly. Just the sheer amount of right-click power coming out from them is quite significant. Nature's Prophet and Visage banned out by See and Believe, so fearing that tri-lane potential, going with the Ancient Apparition first pick again. And funnily enough, Felffie and Friends choosing to ban out Lycanthrope as their second ban. They want to play it, but they don't want to deal against it. Interesting to note that Invoker and Slark are still in the pool. See and Believe went for the respect ban with the Visage and then went for another ban with the Nature's Prophet, so they have opened up the draft to enable those two S-class heroes through. See and Believe's leading once again with their Ancient Apparition pick, despite having a first pick. They could have gone for a Slark, they could have gone for an Invoker, but I don't think any of the players are confident enough on either of those heroes to really want to risk it. I do believe someone's saying that See and Believe have a fairly limited hero pool, so that could be one of the limiting factors as a team. They're a relatively young team, so they'll only get better as the OUSA Dota League Season 1 continues, just because they'll be picking up more experience.
Disruptor.
And so Disruptor first pick once again, incredibly powerful hero. Felffie's friend playing fantastically, using those glimpses to ensure so many of their kills. I believe 4 of the key kills in the game. One of this Fen was secured through the usage of that glimpse with 1.8k range. It offers you so much versatility and utility, as 1800 is the max range for your hero during daytime or during nighttime for some heroes like Luna or Night Stalker. They have 1800 night vision and reduced vision during the day. Second pick, they're deliberating a bit more on. They've picked up one of their support heroes with a tri-lane, so they might want to go for secure their offlaner now instead of going for the secondary support hero. Disruptor usually is never a first pick material. He could be picked up later on the draft as third or fourth pick, but never first. But Felffie and Friends, they really rely on that Disruptor tri-lane just because he offers so much repositioning capability. Felffie is also pretty on point with his kinetic fields. I think he missed maybe one, which was critical for a kill, but even then, another member of his team was able to secure it. Kinetic field is one of those soft CC spells, similar to Sprout, in the sense that when applied properly and without its counters, it actually is quite potent. 2.5 seconds can lock you in an AoE. Sprout can scale to 5.25, but of course that's countered by either a Quelling Blade or a Tango. Shadow Shaman's the second pickup. He's a very greedy support hero, just because he needs a lot of levels and a lot of gold in contrast to a lot of support heroes. Ether Shock becomes a very powerful spell when you get multiple points up in it, but level 1, it only works on one hero and only does 120 damage, so it's efficient just to harass one hero, but pretty shit otherwise. As well as the fact that Shadow Shaman is very slow and squishy. You want to ideally get a Blink Dagger or a Force Staff up on him just to really maximize his teamfight presence. It enables you to jump in, hex someone, throw down your wards, shackle somebody else. But with the Disruptor having that glimpse and a kinetic field, it is actually a fairly potent combination. If they're caught at a position, Disruptor can glimpse them in, Shadow Shaman runs up, shackles them. Disruptor can drop the kinetic field for when Shackle ends if they're still alive, and then the two of them can nuke them down with their lightning combinations. So you've got Thunderstrike and Ether Shock. See and Believe deliberating on their second pick. They know they're up against the greedy support hero of the Shadow Shaman, as well as the fact that Disruptor, he's incredibly powerful the first 30 minutes of the game, but unless your team gets a significant lead or if he's able to pick up an Agnum Scepter, he does get completely shut down by BKB. Shadow Shaman does as well, but he can still drop his Serpent Wards, he still has that pushing capability, he can still lock down other members of your team. Disruptor, if you run up to him and pop a BKB, all he could do is run, there's absolutely nothing he could do at all, and that's one of the reasons why teams were so hesitant to start picking him up until he was buffed, until they started to see the power of maxing out that Glimpse. So See and Believe deliberating on their pickup. And they go for that Slark, so the fact that Slark was able to slip through the first 2 bans means that we're going to have a Slark game for See and Believe. I don't think See and Believe have played Slark before. I think the last team that played it was Slytherin Squad, and they did something weird like not going for any points in Dark Pact despite being an offlane. Maybe that was See and Believe, I'm not 100% certain. But at any rate, the Slark is a fantastic hero. The reason why he's first and second ban is just because he offers so much utility to your team, especially in terms of your draft. He could go mid, he could go offlane, 1v1 or 1v3, or he could serve as your safe lane farmer. The reason why Slark is so difficult to dislodge is, so long as you have a point up in your Dark Pact and you have mana to use it, you always hover your finger over Q, the instant the enemy team goes in you or even looks at you funny, you press Q and you're immediately safe. It purges off almost every ability in the game. The few spells that do hold Slark in place during Dark Pact, abilities such as Disruption, the Astral Imprisonment, which actually physically remove you from the game. And seeing as there's neither an OD or a Shadow Demon that's been picked up, Slark feel fairly confident at the moment. They could still go for an OD pickup.
Reserve time.
As well as the fact that with Pounce, Slark in the tri lane, if he's having a really bad time, he can actually pounce into trees, and if they don't spawn him pouncing into those trees, they have no idea where the hell he is. They can passively leech EXP that way, or especially if the Creeper Equilibrium shift, Slark can just hang around lane. If they get too close to him, can turn around and just pounce back. 700 range at level 1, similar to that Mirana Leap. Great way for you to reposition yourself to make sure that you're not getting killed. And the instant you hit level 6, you become an absolute terror to deal with. It's now impossible to harass you out of lane. All you have to do is pop out of sight for a few seconds, have that passive regeneration coming in from Shadow Dance, catch a hero on their own, pop Shadow Dance so they turn to fight you. As the instant you drop below about half or 30% of your HP, you can use Shadow Dance to regenerate back up to full. As it's 5.5 seconds where they can't see you, and unless they have AoE lockdown abilities, they can't do anything to you at all while you're sitting there regenerating and able to stab them like a crazy motherfucker. See and Believe with that Bristleback as their third ban, respecting the power of AO on that Bristleback, he was able to completely outlane and destroy Sven in that 1v1 offlane situation. Was interesting to see why they chose to send Sven to that offlane instead of something like a Mirana. I was thinking it could have been something like Sven, Ancient Apparition, and Silencer. That way you have the reliable stun coming out from Stormbolt to set up Cold Feet, as well as the right click coming out with that Chilling Touch. Venomancer being banned out against the fourth ban. Pretty standard ban, very strong in conjunction with the Ancient Apparition, as you have the Venomous Gale to set up the Cold Feet. Chen ban coming out from See and Believe, most likely Respect ban, as well as the fact that I guess the pushing power coming out from Chen with its minion army, with Hand of God, and with the early mech that he's able to farm, is quite potent, seeing as how they have a Shadow Shaman. But usually Chen is only banned out if you're fearing a particular player's skills, especially at this level of gameplay. Just because Enchantress offers you a lot more early game pushing power and a lot more aggression, doesn't need as precise micro as the Chen, as you're usually only microing one of the unit. Clockwork banned out, limiting the offlaning coming out from the Dire side, coming out from the Radiant side, sorry, of See and Believe. Kind of surprised they didn't pick up the Clockwork themselves using one of their first 2 picks. I guess they don't have a player who's confident enough on the Clockwork, and they're going for Timbersaw instead. Timbersaw is a great hero to counteract Slark, especially in the 1v1 matchup, as Whirling Death is able to cut through Slark like a knife through butter, harass him out of lane, sap his stats. Slark has a very low base stat pool, and the stat growth is pretty horrible. And not only that, the Shaman and pure damage coming out from Timbersaw means that if he gets a good enough start, gets enough levels, he could kill Slark before he's too much of a threat, before he could even pop his Shadow Dance. Even when he pops a Shadow Dance, you've got all 3 of your damage dealing spells are blind targets, so you can use them to hit them through Shadow Dance. You can Timber Chain to a tree.
5 seconds
you can throw out your Whirling Death when you're close to him, or you can even just whip out your Chakram, use to cut him in half. Third pick coming out from See and Believe, dipping into their reserve time. They go for a Witch Doctor, so Witch Doctor, Ancient Apparition as the 2 support heroes. Witch Doctor is a hero that's very rarely seen, just because of the fact that his stun is very powerful. Paralyzing Casket can bounce up to 9 times, so you've got the initial bounce and then the 8 bounces coming out from that, but it is very random. Witch Doctor also hits like a truck. Malediction is one of the highest damaging spells in the game, just because of the fact that it amplifies damage and then deals at the very end, so you actually can If you combo him with a lot of burst damage, you have some of the chilling touch. It's quite a dangerous combination. It's just the fact that Paralyzing Cask is a slow travel time,
5
and
seconds
it's completely
remaining.
random. You've only got the guaranteed 1.5 seconds on that first bounce, and afterwards it's a complete crapshoot. Puck has been picked up. Great counter hero to Witch Doctor, just because it's so easy to disjoint his Paralyzing Cask, disjoint his Malediction, and when he's popping his Death Ward, sitting there jumping up and down, blasting Skrillex, you blink up to his face, silence him with the Waning Rift, cancel him with the Dream Coil, and then beat his ass down. Witch Doctor is very squishy and relies on his mobility as well as his high damage output to keep himself alive. One thing to keep in mind though is with Witch Doctor, for your skill builds, you usually want to, especially in the tri-lane situation, you want to pick up 1 point in Voodoo Restoration and keep it at 1 point until you pick up something like an Arcane Boots, just because the first point is the most mana
5 seconds remaining.
pick up for that ability. The second point drastically increases the mana cost, which you can't afford to sustain, considering how much mana Paralyzing Cask as well as the Malediction chew through. Paralyzing Cask is a very powerful ability, it's just a bit unreliable. And I guess that's the issue that I'm seeing with See and Believe, especially their last tri-lane was completely unreliable. They had the unreliable stun from the Murano. Jimmy Whispers did play fantastically and added a lot of his arrows, but the fact that you're initiating with an unreliable stun makes it difficult for the other heroes to deal that damage. If they had that Sven in that tri-lane, use Stormbolt to set up Cold Feet, and then you have up 3 seconds where you can beat. We have 3 free seconds for you to beat on them, and then when they're running away, you snare them up with the Ice Vortex. You can chase them down for a kill.
10 seconds remaining.
Clinkz being picked up, so it looks like Clinkz will be the offlaner. I don't think I see Clinkz in tri-lanes. He's an incredibly powerful 1v1 hero, just because Searing Arrows does so much damage, plus 20 at level 1, costing 8 mana each time he uses it. Clinkz has an absolutely appalling attack point, it's something like 0.7 or 0.8, so by the time he throws out an attack, it's very easy to out-CS him, so that's why he has the Orb instead, just because it uses his cast point animation of 0.3 instead of his attack animation of 0.8, and so that's what makes him such an effective laner. If he gets an early level in EXP lead, he can pick up an Orchid of Malevolence, run around, start solo killing everyone on the map. Before Orchid of Malevolence became really popular, Clinkz used to rush either a Divine Rapier if you're in a pub game, or a Sheepstick. Those are the conventional builds for him. Nowadays with Orchid of Malevolence, that's an excellent pickup for him. You still can go for a Sheepstick. I think EE Summer, whenever he plays Clinkz, he chooses to go for a Sheepstick over the Orchid of Malevolence, but that's because Orchid of Malevolence is a timing item. You want to get it as soon as possible and maximize its usage. That's because the later the game goes, the more abilities the enemy team will come up with, and the more items they can use to counteract it. So either the BKB, Yule Scepter, which you can use to cycle on yourself and purge off the debuff, or the Manta style. One of the reasons why Clinkz and as well as Storm Spirit are picked up against heroes like Anti-Mage, who will be found at Manta styles, you want to kill them before they could get that big item, but that's entirely dependent on how well the lane goes. See and Believe wisely banning out the Luna. Luna believes the hero with the highest win rate of all the tri-lane carries in 0.68, as well as in 0.67 and
10 seconds remaining.
0.78. She's an incredibly powerful tri-lane hero, especially the high amount of damage coming out. And Lifestealer picked up as the carry, so we're going to be seeing a Puck mid, Timbersaw going over into the offlane, and the Lifestealer tri-lane with the Disruptor as well as the Shadow Shaman. Works out incredibly well in this case, because Lifestealer, if he picks up Phase Boots and maxes out Open Wounds, he could run up, initiate with the Open Wounds, give Disruptor time to land his kinetic field, Shadow Shaman to walk up and hex people, or to shackle them. So we've got a mid Huskar being played by Dream, Slark their carry, and offlane player from the last game playing that Clinkz, so he'll be going 1v1 up against the Timbersaw. And it looks like a tri-lane Slark with Jimmy Whisper, Stranger Danger, and Rezimki over on the Witch Doctor. You could potentially see a Clinkz tri-lane instead with a Slark offlaner, but Clinkz needs levels as well as gold, so that's, and in a 3v3 situation or 3v1, he doesn't offer all too much, just because he is very squishy and easy to bring down. The more heroes you introduce to the equation, the easier it is to kill Clinkz, just because he relies on being a DPS 1 hero down, similar in that sense to a Viper. Viper falls apart once the instant becomes 1v2 or 3v1, just because it's difficult for him to be able to deal damage to one hero while still being hit by the other one. And so could be seeing a Huskar mid, as Dream was the mid player for the last game. Not too sure how effective Huskar will be against Puck. Puck is currently one of the strongest mid heroes in the game. He has the mobility potential of the Queen of Pain, but he also has a lot more lockdown and survivability with that phase shift, as well as the blink and illusory orb that he has at his disposal. So AO, the bristleback from the last game, playing that Shadow Shaman. Play Laughgrow, their mid player, over on the Puck. Felffie this time playing the carry over on the Nikes. Road to 2.5k MMR, the offlaner and the Timbersaw, and Felffie's friend playing that Disruptor. Grouping up as 5, going in through the jungle. Felffie and friends really like to do this. They like to stick together, see if they can pick somebody off and catch them by surprise. Looks like the boys from SMB are deciding to clash try v try once again. We'll see how effective they are this time. Jimmy Whispers up on that Slark, choosing to go for that first point up, and Pounce actually trying to go for Ring of Protection instead of a Stout Shield. I guess he wants to build a Ring of Aquila or Ring of Basilius as fast as possible to provide that armor and mana regeneration for the rest of his team.
30 seconds to
Stranger
battle.
Danger on the Ancient Apparition, same as before, wasn't all too successful in the last game, but wasn't too bad at the same time. Rizimki over on Witch Doctor, last game the Silencer pickup didn't really work out at all, so we'll see how effective it is this time. This time they're going for the Ward block. Interesting, considering that in 6.8, especially the fact that neutral experience is now shared if you're in range, you usually want to block off, you usually want to go for safety ward instead. So it's Llarlock playing the
The
Clinkz
battle
over the
begins
offlane,
for good and all.
as the offlane player playing this time the safe lane, so only 1v1 against Timbersaw. And Dream over on the Huskar, level 1 burning spares. We'll see how effective he is against that Puck. Puck choosing not to go for phase shift, going for illusory orb at 1, so he's going to be playing hyper aggressive. And so over in the top lane, we have that Tri-Lane of the Nyx, Shadow Shaman, and the Disruptor. We'll see how effective it is this time. If C and Believe do play their cards right, they should be able to at least snag a few kills. The issue with the fact that the Clashing Tri-v-Tri is they're always going to be on the defensive. Just because Lifestealer, if they do go on Lifestealer, just because Cask has such a long travel time, just because Pounce actually puts Slark in a position, just because Cold Feet can instantly be poached off by the Rage. They're usually going to have to be reacting to Felffie and friends, whereas Felffie and friends have the opportunity to just run up, open wound someone, pop Rage, and then start going to town. Lifestealer is vastly superior to Slark at this stage of the game. Slark actually needs to get a really good start snowballing if he wants to stand a prayer against Lifestealer, although Slark at the same time is incredibly slippery and annoying hero to deal with once he gets his ultimate. Slark actually chose to go for Strafe at level 1. I think this must be a misclick. If he went for Searing Arrows, he probably would have completely harassed Road to 2.5k MMR. Considering he went for Timber Chain at 1, this has definitely got to be a misplay coming out from the Clinkz. You always go for Searing Arrows at 1, unless you're forced to skill that Skeleton Walk, which you only do if you know that you're about to die. So usually you hold on to your skill point until you see what, like you see right now, the sheer amount of damage coming out to Road to 2.5k MMR. He took 2 hits, he like cops a lot of damage, especially considering the fact that Timbersaw has 0 armor, so he's relying entirely on that Stout Shield to block damage. And so we've got a power outage over on Road to 2.5k MMR. He's going to quickly get his laptop plugged back in, and we should be good to go. Clinkz actually choosing to go for a point up in that Skeleton Walk, playing very safe. Really would have liked to see him go for that point up and Searing Arrows, just because it's also the way you're going to get CS against this lane, as your attack point is incredibly difficult. It's incredibly difficult to CS with Clinkz without using a Searing Arrow, just because of his high attack point. I forgot to mention the mana cost for Searing Arrows actually increased to 10 when the damage was also increased. That's something to keep in mind. Used to only be
Dire's
10
bottom
damage level 1,
tower is
now it's
under
about
attack.
20.
Run, little bottom tower.
Play Life Growth, throws out the Illusory Orb, but Dream's very happy with that. He's got Berserker's Blood, he can tank as much magic damage as he wants. It actually looks like Huskar's zoning out the Puck. Very surprising considering Huskar needs boots if he wants to be able to effectively orb walk the Puck, but he's picked them up now. He doesn't really need Bottle as a Huskar. As Puck significantly outranges the Huskar, and he actually has superior base damage as well, so from the beginning he should have been able to land a few free hits over the Huskar before Huskar can start trading. Could have had better positioning there to zone him out, but this is the same story that we saw the last game with the Kunka. Dream was able to zone out, Play Life Grow in the early stages, and then Play Life Grow bounce back. You see Dream? There we go, that's that phase shift coming out. Was surprised to see him skilling Illusory Orb at 1 instead of phase shift. Usually in a 1v1 matchup against another ranged hero, you go for phase shift at 1 just because it gives you a way to be able to get some free hits off, use that phase shift to disjoint their attacks. Regeneration Rune in the top lane, he's going to pick it up before the courier gets there, just because he doesn't want to waste time.
Regeneration!
Jumps right back in the lane. If a kill tap does happen, most likely will be in the top lane. Just because you have that offensive power coming out from Felffie and friends. If he gets that open wounds, and never mind, Lifestealer's actually choosing to max out Rage, so he's playing defensively. He's got that early Gloves of Haste, so I'm assuming he's going for a Midas. Just because Treads is vastly inferior to Phase Boots over on Lifestealer, just because the whole point of the hero is you're meant to be hitting people. If you're not hitting people, you're not accomplishing anything at all. And Phase Boots accomplishes that, whereas Treads do not. If you are confident, like supremely confident in your teammates' ability to hold the enemy team in place, you can go for Treads because it does give you more attack speed, which is nice. So it helps you scale towards the later stages of the game. You usually want to make sure that you're depending on as few people as possible to help set up your abilities, especially when you're playing a hero as critical as the carry. Puck copying a lot of damage to the face with those burning spares. Actually, a bit of misplay coming out from Huskar. He popped the salve, but was instantly cancelled. You heard the sound of this, the salve popping. But the right click coming out from what looked like the catapult must have cancelled it. So in terms of CS, Dream is once again leading the board, dominating the puck, is only around the lane. Play life grows actually being completely destroyed. It was the same story in the last game, only 5 CS as a puck up against a Huskar. This is unheard of. He not only has longer range but superior base damage as well. Puck should have been completely dominating the Huskar, or at least keeping even in CS. But it looks like the early aggressive play coming out from Dream has just been putting Puck on the back foot, so she is forced to respond now. Haste responding on the bottom lane, road to 2.5k MMR, choosing to max out Timber Chain. That actually gives you the highest amount of burst damage as well as mobility. But usually Timbersaw players like to max out the Wailing Death, just gets a bit more, as a more reliable source of damage, as you're not contingent on being able to land those Timber Chains to be able to deal off damage for your combination. You can instead just rely on walking up to them, pressing Q, taking half their life off, especially if you clip a tree, and then throwing out the Chakram. The instant Timbersaw hits level 6, he'll be an absolute pain to go against, and we see Paralyzing Cast thrown out, but Felffie instantly rages. Great reactions coming out from him. He's going to pick up a point over on Open Wounds at level 4 now. And so he's choosing to go for that defensive Lifestealer build of maxing out Rage. Back before Open Wounds was nerfed, that used to be the conventional build. Jimmy Whispers goes too far forward with a pounce, misses. AO turns around, turns him into a chicken. Ice Vortex thrown out just to give a bit Disco Ball for Shadow Shaman to hang around with, and they back off into the tri lane. Jimmy Whispers hasn't been CSing all too well. He's got 9 Thunderstrike thrown out just for a bit of harassment, which isn't the best considering the fact that they are zoning out Felffie with the right clicks coming out. Lifestealer, and wow, we've got a First Blood. I've missed that again, second time in this series. Bit embarrassing, but it looks like he killed him with the Chakram. That's the thing you have to keep in mind. The instant Timbersaw hits level 6, you gotta be afraid, just because that Chakram does so much damage. All you have to do is throw it out, get that one pass, bring it back immediately so you get both ticks of the pure damage. Timber Chain yourself forward and then kill him off with the Welling Death. Slark once again being completely shut down by the offlane player over on the dire side for Felffie and friends. Once this Timbersaw starts to get a bit more gold, a bit more momentum, it's going to be hard to stop, especially considering the fact that Ancient Apparition cannot do anything for Timbersaw. Cold Feet, Timbersaw laughs at that just because he can Timber Chain out. And the Paralyzing Cask is nice, but it isn't enough of a lockdown duration unless you get lucky with the bounces to be able to do anything effective. Felffie's called out with the Paralyzing Cask, pops Rage, is Maledicted, however Maledict will persist through Rage. So that's a bit of a misplay. With a few more right clicks with the Chilling Touch, they could have perhaps actually gone for a kill attempt there. But nonetheless, it's a nice bit of harassment. He's just going to pop a salve and he should be fine. About 500 gold off from... Wow, Timbersaw gets another kill over, this time over on Huskar. Over in the middle lane, we've got a rotation coming out. 2-man Dream Coil, great play coming out. Play Love Grow actually eats a pounce to the face, didn't phase shift and takes a fall. Jimmy Whispers immediately turns around, gets a kill. With the help coming out from Stranger Danger, who tanked that Dream Coil to the face.
Dire's bottom tower is under
Huskar
attack.
instantly took a fall. It's one of the things to keep in mind. I was interested in why they chose to go for Huskar, considering Timbersaw completely shuts him down. Huskar goes down to heroes to provide either a huge amount of burst physical damage to Ursa Warriors, another great counter to Timbersaw. To Huskar, all heroes like Timbersaw who can provide pure damage and can instantly cut through him. The reason why Omni Knight's also another good counter to the Huskar, as not only do you have the Purification, you also have Repel to negate all the damage coming out from his Burning Spears, as well as
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Negate all of Huskar's physical DPS in the later stages of the game. Road to 2.5k MMR, having a fantastic start. He's got both kills for his team. CS isn't the greatest, but the fact that he's keeping the Clinkz down, he's keeping him on his toes. The fact that Clinkz chose to go for strafe at 1 is really biting him in the ass. He might actually take a fall again this time. Eats both Chakrams. Now they need a Sentry Wall if they want to go for a kill, as Shadow Walk makes Clinkz such a pain in the ass to bring down. You usually don't go for a point in strafe until level 8. You want to get a few more points off in your Ghost Walk force first, just because it increases your movement speed as well as decreasing the cooldown. And the fact that strafe does provide a huge amount of attack speed, but you're not going to be going in for many kill attempts early on in the game. He zips in with the Timber Chain, throws out the Chakram. He's going to get killed with the Welling Death if he's able to land it correctly. Never mind, Slark jukes him out. Road to 2.5k MMR. Completely blind, almost able to kill Clinkz. Clinkz is now forced out of lane until he's able to eat a creep or pop that self. If he is scouted up by road to 2.5k MMR, he will drop. All he has to do is throw out the Chakram. In fact, he's moving over to the hard camp just to scout out Clinkz in case he decided to go in for the Dark Pack. Surprising to note that Clinkz hasn't instantly Dark Packed the creep. The instant you hit 6 as Clinkz, you want to eat the biggest creep you can, or melee creep in the lane if you don't want to leave your lane. just because it gives you that HP. Dream Coil popped over in Dream, but I think Dream should be fine. Never mind, Timbersaw's rotated and Dream's gonna go down. He throws out the life break, goes with him for the Michael Jordan dunk, but it's dunked instead by Timbersaw, just cuts him in half with the Chakram, with the Willing Death, and then Play Lifestealer gets that last right click in. Great phase shift coming out from him, disjoining the Michael Jordan jumpers that would have potentially turned around for a kill over into Huskar. He was able to get a few more right clicks up on Puck. This is one of the reasons why she's such a superior alternative to Queen of Pain. As Queen of Pain, her only survivability comes up from a blink. Other than that, all of her abilities are aggressive and offensive. Puck has not only the Illusory Orb, which you could use the Ethereal Jaunt to destroy abilities, as well as to reposition himself, but also the phase shift, which no longer costs mana. It used to cost, I think, 50 mana every time you used it, so that was a significant factor in Puck. Sorry, 25 mana in the early stages of the game. I think it might have scaled up to 50 later on, but that's the ability that gave you survivability. 9 minutes 30 Midas picked up, not the fastest Midas in the world, but Felffie's more than happy to take it. He's having a ball of a time right now with the fact that Timbersaw's been running around trading space for him, and you have that Puck who could lock people in place with that Dream Coil. He doesn't necessarily need a fight immediately. Lifestealer, you also have the Next Bomb coming out with Infest into Puck once he gets that blink, as well as Timbersaw could also Timber Chain himself in. Disruptor actually taking a bit of damage, and he's going to take a fall. Never mind, he's having a glimpse of stuff back. Goes down to one last right click from the Huskar, the Burning Spears, as well as the Cold Feet proc. Looks like Ancient Apparition choosing to max out Cold Feet this time, deciding to give that build a go instead, going for the conventional build. Dream moving up. He doesn't have his dunk off cooldown yet. He used it actually to kill off the Disruptor. So he's hanging around, choosing to go for treads instead of face boots. I guess the rationale in this case is he's afraid of the Timbersaw burst damage coming out, so he wants to tank up. Otherwise, face boots are usually preferable on Huskar, especially with the recent change, because you're more dependent on being able to use your ult to be an initiate. Similar to Viper, face boots are also usually the superior pickup on Viper, as it means that you're no longer contingent on your ultimate to be able to chase people down, as Viper and Huskar are both fairly slow heroes. However, if you are confident in your positioning abilities, and if you need to, or in this case if you need to tank up, treads can also work just as well. It's mostly a player preference.
Double damage!
Huskar choosing to max out Berserker's Blood over Burning Spear. I think with the recent change over to Burning Spear and Berserker's Blood, maxing out Burning Spears is actually the superior build, as it means that even if you do go down, you're able to get enough stacks and deal enough damage to the dot to bring them down. Jimmy Whispers picks up a double damage, so he's going to start shoving things down. He still hasn't hit level 6 yet. This trade lane really hasn't accomplished all too much. Slark driven out of lane once again, forced to go for that tread pickup. As Clinkz, you want to go for your Orchid of 11 as soon as possible. Top lane, Radiant side playing a bit aggressive. Nothing all too much happening. TP coming in. Jimmy Whispers caught out position without Shadow Dance. He's going to take a fall. Willing Death cuts him in half. Melee drops out. Open wounds over in Witch Doctor. He takes a right click to the face. He goes down to that Ether Shock from Shadow Shaman. Dream hanging around, does a bit of damage, kills off Disruptor, eats that Shackle to the Timber Chain to the face. Gonna eat that Welling Death once it's off cooldown. Never mind, just gets right click down instead. Stranger Danger caught in place with the Dream Coil. Feeds another kill over to Road to 2.5 KMMR, and he takes a triple kill. He's almost got his Bloodstone up now. He's got his point booster. All he needs now is the VIP booster, and he'll have something like a 15-16 minute Bloodstone, especially with the fact that they're going to take this Tier 1 tower. Mass Serpent Wards is being dropped. Shadow Shaman's hanging around. Felffie pop rage to get a few more right clicks in. He's having an absolute ball of a time. They're going to take that last hit over the top lane. Shadow Shaman actually gets it with the Serpent Wards. Just to do a quick golden EXP check, well, nothing too important happening. 4,000 EXP lead in favor of Felffie and friends, and 3,000 gold lead in favor for them as well. Not the biggest difference in the world. The EXP is much more important, as Slark hasn't hit level 6 yet. This is absolutely critical. How the hell does your tri-lane Slark get out-leveled by the support players over on the Dire side? Shadow Shaman was able to get level 6 before he did, despite dying twice now. Oh, never mind, he didn't die, it was Disruptor that died. Witch Doctor hasn't hit level 6 as well, so he doesn't have his Death Ward. Didn't go for that point in Voodoo Restoration, despite the fact that they were taking a lot of damage in those fights. Voodoo Restoration provides a surprising amount of heal if Witch Doctor is ignored. Considering the fact that he went for the Arcane Boots, actually choosing to max out Voodoo Restoration might have been a better option. Dream's going to catch out too. He jumps into 3 now. Static Storm as well as Shackle. They turn around and start beating on him. He's got Berserker's Blood though, so the Illusory Orb does nothing. But his glimpse back, and with the Shaman and right clicks coming out, he's going to get a kill. Play Love, Grow, phase shifts to Pounce, but catches it on Shadow Shaman instead. He's got Shadow Dance now, so he's going to get a few hours more right clicks in. Slark gets a right click in, and Puck goes down to the dots from the Burning Spear, so even though Huskar dies, that's actually 1 for 2. Great trade coming out from SNB. Huskar moves out on his own, gets called out by 3, but is able to turn around, gets 1, and Clinkz comes in for the cleanup. Clinkz definitely needs a lot more farm and a lot more levels. He needs to get his Orchid level as soon as possible. Went for that Ring of Aquila as well as Treads. 2 items that don't necessarily help. And the Ring of Aquila is understandable, but usually want to stick with Naked Boots for as long as you can with Clinkz, just because Orchid leveling is such an important item on him. If you get it before the 20-minute mark, preferably in something like 12-13 minute mark, if you choose to rush it, Clinkz can actually go naked, doesn't really need boots if you choose to max out Shadow Walk, but he's choosing to max out Strafe. So he's going to be playing a farming Clinkz, which isn't actually the best build in the world. It doesn't offer you as much as, say, a farming Slark does. In fact, Slark's probably better to scales into the later stages of the game, just because he has that inbuilt survivability from that Shadow Dance, as well as the passive stat gain from the Essence Shift. Clinkz is a mid-game oriented hero. He needs to get ahead and start snowballing, so the fact they chose 2 snowballing heroes, and one of them has a pretty terrible start, the other one's choosing to passively farm, was kind of indicative of the state of the game. SMB not executing the draft to its fullest extent. Jimmy Whispers leaves himself in, gets turned into a chicken, wards drop, Dream jumps in, gets a kill him in Shadow Shaman. Ice Blast completely whiffs. He's actually going to get another kill on Felffie's friend. Blink Dagger coming up from Puck as well as the illusory orb. Nux Bomb comes out. Felffie's going to right-click him down, but they lose 3 in the meanwhile. 3 for 3 exchange. Timbersaw actually went down, which is probably the most important part, as that was his 3 on him, so whoever killed him would have gotten a whole bunch of gold. Shadow Shaman gets a kill over... actually, who killed the Timbersaw? Oh. And while that's happening, bottom tower falls over to Clinkz, so great play coming out from them. SMB starting to claw their way back into the game. Arcane Boots picked up by Stranger Danger. So he's got enough mana to start throwing his ultimate a lot more. He could use it since it has a 45-second cooldown. He could use it to defend his towers, split push even, or just to throw down the heroes for harassment. Shadow Shaman, he wants to pick up farm now. He's got Arcane Boots, he's choosing the max out his Hex, so that's the conventional Shadow Shaman build. He wants to start saving up for a Blink Dagger. He's about 800 gold away from it. That will significantly increase his ganking and teamfight potential, because it means that in teamfights he can hang back so he doesn't get initiated upon, then jump in once the other heroes have initiated and wasted their spells that land as disables. It also means if he catches the hero out of position, he can jump in, immediately Hex or Shackle them. Or if he's got fast enough fingers, Hex one, Shackle the other, give his teammates time to go in, considering Puck has that Blink Dagger, so he can immediately follow up behind them, throw out that Dream Core, throw out that Waiting Rift, say, hey, I got your back, yo. Treads picked up on both Puck as well as Slark. Slark is an absolutely awful game. He's got Poor Man's Shield, Orb of Venom, Ring of Aquila, and Treads. He has, however, gone for the correct Slark skill build, so maxing out that Pounce, then choosing to max out Dark Pack second. One of the reasons why Slark is such an effective tri-lane hero, as well as a carry hero, is the fact that he has a 580 magic burst combination that comes out every 6 or 7 seconds. Makes him incredibly powerful if he catches the hero out of position, just because he could output a surprising amount of damage if he's left unchecked. TPing over to the bottom lane, so we've got 3 heroes for Felffie and friends, 4 heroes over for SMB. While that's happening, Shadow Shaman's farming the mid lane, he's getting some more gold in the XP. He wants his Blink Dagger before he engages. And Felffie, he's having a ball of a time. He hasn't died at all. Looks like he just picked up what could be his armlet. No, never mind. He's going for Sange and Yasha, so he's going for the Vroom Vroom Race Car build. Sange is a not bad pickup compared to the armlet. Armlet has fallen a lot out of favor with all the nerfs it's received. It still is a very good pickup on Lifestealer, but there are plenty of viable alternatives now. The fact he's going for SNY means he's going for a chasing build. He could go for a Heaven's Halberd, but on the Nikes is a pretty bad pickup just because you want to go for more carrying abilities. The fact you're wasting 4,000 gold for a pseudo carry, anti-carry utility item is a bit of a pain. You want to get as much damage as possible, as Nikes relies on having one item advantage over the other carries in order to beat them in a 1v1 fight. That's because he has a vastly superior early game.
Top tower is under attack.
One of the strongest laning carries in the game. However, with the open wounds nerf, he has tapered off significantly. Shadow Shaman immediately retreating when he notices that the Radiant side are missing. He's 50 gold away from his Blink Dagger. He doesn't want to die. Timbersaw jumps in, misses Timber Chain though, attack him, catches on the return. Welling Death, he's eating that Death Ward, but Stone Storm from Felffie's friend keeps his ass alive. Disruption, catches out Ancient Apparition, and he brings them down. Great play coming up from that Disruptor in conjunction with Road to 2.5k MMR. He's got 10 charges in his Bloodstone. He's having the time of his life. Carving a bloody sword through the heroes of the Radiant side. Considering the fact that tri-lane failed, Shadow Shaman turns around, hexes, and then bolts Jimmy Whispers in the face. This is a very cocky Shadow Shaman. He ain't afraid of no ghost. He's gonna be afraid though, turns around, shackles him as he gets pounced, giving Felffie time to come and say, hey, the only one that gets to slap around my teammates is me. Jimmy Whispers now running for his life. Shadow Dance ends, so he's forced to pounce on the Dark Pact, and he should be okay. The Shadow Shaman now has enough for his Blink Dagger, so he's having a fantastic game. He's boarded now on the Courier. So even if he dies, he still has it up. He's got 3 points up in Hex, 1 more point up, and his Hex duration goes up significantly. 3.5 seconds. That's a free sheep stick you have on the hero. Clinkz is hanging around, but he pops strafe too early. The idea with Clinkz is you actually go on top of him using the unit walking, and then you pop strafe. You don't do what Slark did, which is to pop your strafe too early and reveal yourself. Why would you reveal yourself when you have free initiation with the invisibility? You literally sit on top of them with the face walk coming out from your ghost walk, and then you pop strafe to right click them, as it maximizes the amount of time you can right click them before you have to move to start orb walking them down. Can't mean the difference between a kill and no kill. He's just got one of his Oblivion staffs up right now, so he's been having a pretty terrible game. Timbersaw has been really rough on him, shutting him down. Dream has been carrying his team through, doing as much as he can. His sun's up right now with the Raining Rift. Illusory Orb. Puck is going to try to hang around the backhand, but with Knights hanging around, there's no way he could actually do anything. And wow, he looks like he did go for that Heaven's Halberd. He used it right now against the Huskar to disarm him. I guess in this case it's a counter pick, just because if you disarm Huskar, there's nothing he could do. He can scowl at you, he can jump at you, but that's about it. Timber chain in, over in the Slark. Oh, whoops, screwing up with the mouse there. And they instantly get a kill over Jimmy Whispers. He needed to have that Dark Pack, having a finger over the Q so he could instantly pop that Dark Pack. He could have instantly popped his R that shouldn't have gone down there. It was a long time he had to react. The instant you see Timbersaw, Timber Chain towards you, you run the hell away or pop your escape release. Don't stand there and give the Shadow Shaman time to blink in. However, Shadow Shaman does reveal his Blink Dagger, so that could have been something caught him by surprise. Hex has a 0 cast time and 500 range, so if he's in range of you, you will be hexed, assuming he's facing you. They take a free Tattoo Tower off the back of those 2 kills.
Radiant's middle tower.
And the Radiant team, they're in dire straits right now. They weren't able to shut down Timbersaw. Timbersaw was able to completely shut down their mid-game presence. Their tri-lane failed, and their snowballing hero in the Slark wasn't able to get enough farm to really justify the pickup. Huskar was able to create space for his team, but there's only so much one hero can do. Looks like Slark's choosing to go for the Cranium Basher. Disagree with that item build. Would like to see him build for a BKB as it mitigate all the damage coming out from the dire side. As the only thing he then has to worry about is the Knights. But in that case, he could juke him around with the Shadow Dance, with the Pounce to reposition himself. He could use that lockdown duration from the Pounce to catch off straggling heroes and use that to the best of his advantage. Or even if he chose to go for a Shadow Blade, that would be a better pickup than the Basher, as Basher on Slark is a terrible first item just because he has really low attack speed. Slark has terrible agility growth, so he's completely reliant on Estus Shift to be able to carry into later stages of the game. That means that you need to build attack speed items before you build something like a Basher, which relies on your attack speed, to make the most use out of Slark. Timbersaw hanging around with 12 charges in his Blood Zone and 3k. Interesting to see what item he chooses to go for. Timbersaw could choose to go for a Blink Dagger as well. That will give him that instant jump power, especially with the Puck and the Shadow Shaman. So that means 4 out of the 5 heroes from Felffie and friends can instantly jump anyone that's called out of position. Knights does that, Lifestealer, Knight's Bomb, and Disruptor can hang around. He's got Glimpse, so he can hang back and fight. Static Storm has a pretty long cast range as well as a 0 cast point animation. So that means he can hang back and fight and follow up with the rest of his team. So one Stream Coil, and when he Rift is dropped, he can run up, throw out the Kinetic Field and the Glimpse, and use that to lock the players over at See and Believe in. Just going to do a quick golden EXP check in terms of EXP. Felffie and friends leading away at over 10,000. In terms of gold, over 10,000 again. Looks like we've got a group gank coming in from the boys from See and Believe, but Clinkz isn't around, so if they do engage right now, won't be too favorable for them. However, the players over the die side are also split up. Shadow Shaman hanging around. Let's go drop a Serpent Ward for this. I'm going to take another free Tattoo Tower. There's no way the Radiant side can defend against this, especially with the wards already dropped. And with all players from the die side there. The team fight presence is drastically superior just because they have better initiation power. Double Blink Dagger coming out from them. The only initiation power they have currently is Huskar, who can leap in, and then that's about it. Especially with the fact that it's a Heaven's Halberd now. If he leaps in, he's going to get disarmed, so he's going to throw his life away by repositioning himself. The fact that Blink Daggers are up on Shadow Shaman as well as Puck. If he jumps somebody, Shadow Shaman can actually blink away, which is, never mind, he turns around, doesn't blink, he's caught out with the Hex and the Shackle. Illusory Orb, a few more right clicks. Timbersaw secures the kill with the Whirling Death. And Huskar not able to accomplish anything at all during all of that. He's going for an Armlet Medigian, which used to be a great DPS pickup on Huskar. Back on Berserker's Blood also gave you attack damage. Now it's a pretty mediocre item. Especially in this case with the Heaven's Halberd already up on Lifestealer. Lifestealer also has a Cranium Basher. Armlet Medigian's an item you get when you're even or when you're ahead. It's never a catch-up item, just because the fact that the life degen you have while you activate Armlet is only really effective. You can either have it to sustain yourself through that, so Lifestealer has his Feast, or if you're not taking any damage at all, so if you're here like Skeleton King, who has both the Reincarnate as well as the Hellfire Blast to give him free pot shot in the enemy hero. Otherwise, Unlimited digging, especially when you're behind like this, not the greatest pickup. They're going to take a free Roshan off the back of this. Felffie really wishing that Feast worked on Roshan, but Open Wounds does. So he's just going to right-click him down. Probably going to look to upgrade his Cranium Basher into an Abyssal Blade. It was a bit interesting that Heaven's Halberd pick up, but he did it for the good of his team as he's able to completely shut out Huskar from these fights. Now, Huskar has 0 teamfight impact when he's disarmed. Ice Blast fires out to scout it out, but it's a bit too late. Do cop a lot of damage though.
Roshan has fallen to the dire.
Would like to see a Mechanism picked up on one of the support heroes, but they're going with greedy items instead. Disruptor went for a Ghost Scepter, saying you guys can heal yourself. And Shadow Shaman, he's now going for an Aghanim Scepter. He's also of that opinion. Nike's Bomb available up on the Puck. Puck is moving around. Probably will be going towards, yeah, he's going towards that Sheepstick. Already has the Ultimate Orb, provides him a lot of stats, more survivability, and more mana. So he's very happy with that. He's about 2,050 gold off that Sheepstick, so if they take a tower, if they take a winning fight, and if Puck doesn't die during that, he'll be able to finish his Sheepstick pretty quickly. Interesting to see what Timbersaw chooses to go for. He's gone for a Mystic stuff, so he could be going for a Sheepstick, or he could be going for a Shiva's Guard, although if he went for a Shiva's Guard, he would have bought it by now. Orchid and Malevolence finished 24 minutes into the game. Clinkz has had 0 impact on the game so far. He's pushed down one tier 1 tower bottom, and that's it. Looks like he's going for a push over in the top lane.
Tower is doing its best,
yeah, he's gonna. That's the best he could do right now. Just because the fact that Disruptor has a Ghost Scepter, so if he goes on him, he's gonna pop his Ghost Scepter and laugh. If he uses it on Timbersaw, that actually could be quite significant. But Timbersaw's fairly tanky now. He's got 4 points up in his reactive armor, so you might even actually be able to tank his the full duration strafe and Orchid and Malevolence. Use that to be able to stay alive. On Puck, it'd be very effective. But Puck has his Blink Dagger, so if he has fast enough reactions, he can always blink himself home. So the only real hero he could target is just that Shadow Shaman. Nyx is also a good target to Orchid, but in this case he's so farmed with that evasion and the HP, and you have that glimpse in action right now. Rizimki instantly explodes to the Nyx Bomb. Timbersaw going balls to the wall, tanking up 3. Jimmy Whispers pops his Shadow Dance, force to pop, it goes down. Dream instantly dies to the sheer amount of damage coming out. Timbersaw cuts through him. Ice Blast flies out there, might actually kill Timbersaw, never mind, he jukes it. Phase Shift comes out from Puck as well. 15 charges on the Timbersaw. They're going to take a tier 3 at this rate. While that's happening, Clinkz is in the top lane, pushing down your base. He's doing the best he can at the moment, just because the rest of the Radiant side can't defend this. Jimmy Whispers taking a bit of damage, he pounces his way back home. But if it's a base race you're after, the Dire side are very happy to do this. He takes 2 towers for free, which is good for him, so he's at least forcing a trade. TP's back in now. With Huskar respawning, the Dire side should back off. Felffie does have the Aegis the Immortal, that didn't pop during that. Armor and Mediggian picked up on over, and then Witchdoctor ultimate comes, but the Waning Rift instantly cancels it. Witchdoctor's going to take a fall, never mind, Paralyzing Cast bounces around. Ancient Apparition ult hits. Puck is able to get a kill over in the back end. Dream is duking out with Felffie. Felffie isn't able to disarm him. He takes a fall, but he has Aegis the Immortal, so he'll be right back. Clinkz is running around, getting a few more right clicks, and does pops. He's caught way out of position now. He's going to take a fall with that Welling Death. 1 more right click coming out from Lifestealer. 3 for 1, I guess 3 for 2 with the Aegis, but that's a free Rax coming out for the Dire side.
Radiant's bottom
they had to trade a Shadow Shaman and Aegis, but they're more than happy to do that. Clinkz is forced now to buy back if he wants any hope at all of defending this. Dust is still on cooldown for Felffie's friend, so they can't react. He immediately starts running. He's going to get a kill on play Laugh and Grow. He should have anticipated that. But Clinkz is going to trade his life for it. Eats the Willing Death to the face. Dream's caught out of position. Eats the Timber Chain, caught out with the Open Wound. Is stunned with the first hit stun dash. Sharkram finishes him off. Deathwall flies up, it's instantly cancelled. Jimmy Whispers runs in, throws out to the Dark Pack, throws in a pounce, and then runs the hell back away. Cold Feet dropped on Lifestealer, but he's very happy with that. He can just walk away. Bottom lane of Rax has been cleared, and Felffie and friends once again in dominating control of game number 2. Lifestealer has 4.3k now, so he can finish his Abyssal Blade. That makes him that much scarier. He runs up to you, stuns you, and then beats you down with his Rage Duration. Puck almost is enough to finish off his Ginso. He's got about 600 gold before he has it, so once he respawns, he'll clear a wave of creeps. Shadow Shaman, I believe, probably has enough to finish his Aghanim Scepter, especially the way that fight went. Yeah, he's about 100 gold off. He's been having a phenomenal game. The greedy Shadow Shaman pickup was not punished at all. Look how confident he is right now, farming solo. When Lifestealer went on him earlier, he simply turned around and was able to hex him, shackle him, and give Felffie time to rotate over to drive him back. Abyssal Blade picked up on Lifestealer, so he's reached that point of critical mass. Huskar has disconnected, so probably going to see a pause coming up from either team. There we go, Slark quickly pauses. So the unconventional Halberd pickup working wonders just because you could lock down the Huskar during this. And that completely negates him from the fight. Probably would have won in an SNY. or even an armlet into an Abyssal Blade, but it gives the rest of his team peace of mind, especially with that Hex picked up as well. Huskar isn't going to be able to do anything at all during these fights. There's so much lockdown coming out from the Dire side that Huskar just can't accomplish anything, and they don't even have to lock down the Witch Doctor or the Ancient Apparition, so long as they have that Waiting Rift to prevent them from channeling his Death Ward. Witch Doctor is getting heavily counterpicked by that Puck. His Waiting Rift is a huge AoE, and Puck has such high mobility with the Illusory Orb. He could Ethereal Jaunt to that. He's got the Blink Dagger, as well as the Dream Coil to interrupt him, so he's got 2 effective ways of controlling Witch Doctor from range whenever he pops his Death Ward. His Death Ward was able to do a fair amount of damage when it was channeled over in the Timbersaw, but other than that, not too much. Skull Basher picked up on Slark. It's not going to accomplish anything at all. Slark's base attack speed is 1.7. Right now he's only getting 1 attack per second. So unless he gets very lucky with the first hit bash, isn't going to accomplish too much. He could have gone for a Shadow Blade, or even a Maelstrom would have been a better pickup. Blink into Hex over in Dream. Static Storm drop, Kinetic Field. Rezimki's called out. He goes out instantly. 1 right click from Likes. Missile Blade pop. He takes the fall. Ancient Apparition Ice Blast catches 4. But with 2 heroes down, there isn't all too much you could do. One of the reasons why Heaven's Halberd usually isn't picked up with Lifestealer is because you're going for that Abyssal Blade anyway. But I suppose the evasion's always nice. And it did give him that mid-game dominance just because Dream was actually creating a fair amount of space for the rest of his team. Playlife Crow blinks in very aggressively. Timbersaw's also there. Hexed up on Tlarlock. So they've got 2 Sheepsticks up on their team. Serpent Ward's drop and Jimmy Whispers takes the fall. Wasn't even able to pop his ultimate. Don't know why he didn't pop his ultimate. He had that off cooldown. He wasn't disabled during that. Could have been the Waiting Rift silence, but he should have had Dark Pack ready to go. Clinkz is hanging around. He hasn't Dark Pack in the free. Ultimate Fly is out. Shadow Shaman might take a fall if he takes a bit more damage, but he's tanky enough. He should be able to survive through this. And that's another lane of Rax falling. I'm expecting a GG call coming out from SMB. There's no way they could come back this far into when they're this far behind. It's a 20,000 EXP lead, a 20,000 gold lead. I can understand 20,000 gold, but 20,000 EXP is a bit ludicrous. With 2 Sheepsticks, the Hex and Shackle on Shadow Shaman, the Static Storm, as well as the Dream Coil. There's so much lockdown. They could lock down every member of the Radiant team, and then have 1 more left over to disable the rest of the team, just in case one of them break free. When you have that much initiation, lockdown, and damage power, you know the game has fallen completely out of your favor. Lifestealer hanging around. He's waiting for Roshan to spawn. Felffie's friend just popping Ghost Scepter, because why not? It looks like he's going for the Assault Cuirass, or he could be building towards a Molnir, starting with the Hyperstone. Would like to see Assault Cuirass as the extra armor, coupled with the evasion from the Heaven's Halberd, makes him impossible to kill, just because he has the Rage to negate all magical damage. He has the evasion, and then the high armor, pardon me, coming up from the Assault Cuirass and the Heaven's Halberd to enable him to tank right clicks. Heaven's Halberd's also a good pickup against Witch Doctor in the sense the evasion helps him evade a lot of the shots coming out from the Death Ward. As Death Ward gets 3 attacks every second, it actually does a surprising amount of damage if he's left to channel it. Witch Doctor going for the BKB, hasn't been able to pick it up. The fact that neither team has a mechanism is very strange. I would have liked to see the Witch Doctor go for... Never mind, Ancient Apparition has a mechanism. Felffie's friend pops his Dust Beast at half HP. Jimmy Whisper's called out. Silence instantly goes down. Where is that Dark Pack? Static Storm, Kinetic Field, catches out 2. Dream is hexed up. He's turned to a pig. Pig gets eaten by Lifestealer. He loves Pork. Glimpse back straight into danger. Abyssal Bladed. And then 3-shot. And Lifestealer rips him apart. GG is called. 31 minutes and 18 seconds into the game. Felffie and friends take a dominating 2-0 lead victory against See and Believe. 12-31. A lot more action-packed this time around. Less push. But nonetheless, great series coming up from them. See and Believe, they should review their replays. They know that they've got a lot more to go as a team, but I get the feeling they're going to improve at the rate they're going at. So that will be it for tonight's series. There's also Blink up against Team Standard Strat happening at 9:30, so I will be around the caster along with Henry Faulkner. So stay tuned for more Dota, but for now, 49 will be signing out. Oop.